Okay, so are you ready to go deep on this one?
Always up for a deep dive, especially into something like this.
Yeah, right. So this video we've got queued up.
It's a doozy.
It really is. I mean, and we've talked about attraction before, right?
Yeah, many times. Many different angles.
From so many different angles, but this one's kind of a unique take.
Mm-hmm.
It's really aimed at men, trying to help men kind of navigate this world of attraction between men and women.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as a woman, it's fascinating for me to watch these two.
Yeah, I mean, it's like peeking behind the curtain to like another perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's good, even if you're not a man. Yeah. Even if you're not trying to, like, get a date.
Yeah.
It just helps you understand the opposite gender a little bit better.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is, like, the most fascinating about this one is it talks about women having, like, a radar.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've heard that.
And this like mechanism that they use to size men up, that is just so fascinating to me.
Well, you know, it's funny because it sounds very like, you know, woo-woo.
Right.
But I think that the core of what he's getting at is that women are, you know, millions of years of evolution have gone into us being very particular about the men that we select as mates.
Right.
And there is like a subconscious thing going on where we're trying to find the best possible mate. And we're trying to assess for a bunch of different things.
Right.
You know, are you strong? Are you going to protect me? Are you going to provide for me?
Are you safe? Right.
Are you safe? Are you trustworthy? All of that stuff.
Right.
And so he calls it a radar, but it's more like a feeling, or like you get a sense of someone and you're picking up on all of these subtle cues.
And it's not even like a conscious thing.
Yeah.
It's not like they're sitting there with like a clipboard or something.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this guy makes me feel safe or whatever.
Right. Like we're not going through a checklist, you know?
Right.
But subconsciously, all of these different factors are being weighed.
Yeah, and the video really emphasizes a couple of really important things. So one of the things that he talks about is getting rid of this pedestal idea. Like guys need to kind of like get rid of that and just approach women as regular people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like stop putting them up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think that it goes back to the anxiety thing. Sure. If you put a woman up on a pedestal, then you're automatically putting yourself down here.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. So it's creating this gap between the two of you. And I think that that's where some of the anxiety comes from.
Makes sense, yeah.
In men who have trouble approaching women. They're thinking that she's so much better than them or she's so much more whatever than them.
Yeah.
Right. And so
touchable or something.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the idea is like, take her off the pedestal. She poops just like you do.
Right. She's just a regular person.
He's just a regular person, and all of a sudden that gap shrinks.
And so the anxiety is gone too.
Exactly.
Makes total sense. But then, you know, and this is where I kind of got a little bit tripped up, right?
Yeah.
Because he talks about positioning yourself as higher. And I was like, wait a minute.
Right.
Didn't you just say get rid of the pedestal?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds contradictory.
It totally does.
But I think what he means is that, like, and I've heard this from other dating coaches as well, that it's not necessarily about literally being higher than her. It's about owning your own value.
Okay.
Right? Like being comfortable in your own state.
Confidence, basically.
Exactly. Like you're not looking to her to give you validation. You're not looking to her to make you feel good about yourself.
Right.
You already feel good about yourself.
So it's more about an internal thing. It's like you're confident.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And then that will project outward.
Okay.
And then she will pick up on that confidence and be attracted to that.
Okay, so it's more about the energy you're putting out.
Exactly.
Okay, I gotcha. And then the other thing that I thought was really fascinating was, and you know this, we've all heard this before, but it was really emphasized in the video, is that attraction is really driven by emotion.
Yes.
Not logic.
Totally.
It's not like a logical thing.
No. And we think that we're very logical creatures.
Yeah. We like to think we are.
Right. But so much of it is just like we're not even aware of what's going on a subconscious level.
Yeah, it's like a feeling.
Right.
You meet someone, you're like, whoa.
Exactly.
I'm attracted to them. I don't know why.
And you can't even put your finger on it.
Totally.
You know, it's like, oh, I feel something.
It's chemistry or something.
Right, exactly.
And it kind of leads us into this other thing that he talks about, which is body language.
Yeah.
And I thought this was really interesting too, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like, don't lean in too much.
Yeah. I love that.
It's like being a lovesick puppy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Desperate.
Yeah.
Like you need something from her.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by just like subtly leaning back a little bit,
Right.
it changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm not so desperate.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm not like hanging on your every word.
So it's subtle but important.
So subtle.
Yeah.
But really important.
And he also talks about like, so if you disagree with her about something,
Yes.
you can actually like slightly disengage.
Yes. Right?
Like not in a rude way or anything.
Right. But just like,
a little bit.
you know, you're not like, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like.
You have your own opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So it's like, again, it's like this power dynamic thing.
Exactly. It's all about power dynamics.
Fascinating. And then he goes on to talk about posture.
Uh-huh.
And he says the best way to sit is how you would sit
With a friend.
if you were sitting with a friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Comfortable.
Relaxed.
Yeah, like you're not trying to impress anybody.
Right, right.
You know, you're just like,
You're just being yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because he talks about a conversation formula.
Okay.
So, like, 50% of the conversation should be about her.
Okay.
30% should be about the environment, and only 20% should be about you.
Now that's interesting.
Right. It's like,
Like most people go into a date
yeah,
and they're trying to like sell themselves,
totally.
right?
It's all about them.
And this is like the opposite.
It's the opposite. Yeah. It's like,
Flip it on its head.
exactly. Make it about her.
Why do you think that is?
I think that it takes the pressure off of you.
You know? Like if you're trying to impress her all the time,
Right.
it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's inauthentic.
Right. You're not really being yourself.
Right.
You're
Exactly.
trying to be this like perfect version of yourself.
Right. And also it shows her that you're actually interested in her.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. Like you actually care about what she has to say.
It's not just like, look at me.
Exactly.
I'm so great.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so be more interested in her. And then he gives this really great example.
Yeah.
He says, if she asks you about your job,
Uh-huh.
don't give her like the boring rundown.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
is what I do.
Right. Right.
You know, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Be playful with it.
Yeah.
Be a little mysterious.
Yeah.
What?
Like, oh, I can't tell you that. It's top secret.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, you know, I do something that helps people.
Right, right.
Or, you know, just be vague about it.
Right. And that kind of goes back to this idea of like mystery, right?
Exactly.
And I know we've talked about this a lot on the show before, but
Yeah.
like it's so fascinating to me that like the less you reveal,
Yeah.
the more interesting you become.
Right. Because it creates curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are they hiding?
Right. Like, why won't they tell me?
What's their story?
Right. And it makes you want to get to know them better.
Totally, totally. Okay, so to kind of like wrap all this up, right?
Yeah.
So we've got confidence, genuine interest in the other person,
Uh-huh.
body language.
Yeah. Right.
Like all very important.
Super important.
Yeah.
And then just this idea of mystery.
And authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, like
Don't try to be someone you're not.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be yourself.
Be your best self,
Yes.
but be yourself.
Be your best self.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's what people are really attracted to.
Yeah.
They can spot a fake a mile away. Totally. Totally. So here's something to think about.
Okay.
As you're kind of going through your day to day
Yeah.
and you're interacting with people,
Uh-huh.
pay attention to who you're drawn to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like, why?
Yeah. And why?
Yeah.
And see if maybe some of these things that we've been talking about
Yeah.
are playing out
Totally.
in your own life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a fun little experiment.
It's a really fun little experiment.
Yeah.
And I think it'll make you really start to understand this whole attraction thing
Yeah. And your own patterns.
even better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
That was a good one.
That was fun.
Until next time.
See ya.